All right, so welcome back into the live stream. Today we're going to jump into Bitcoin and Ethereum, take a look on not only the technical analysis, take a look at some of the news, what's driving the markets. Are we in an uptrend still, or could we be on the verge of a bull trap ending? My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Joining me today, of course, is Mr. Evan Aldo, as always.
Awesome to be here.
Yeah, let's get into it, Evan. First of all, I want to jump into a couple stories before we kind of go into the charts. There's a few things that are happening right now. As you guys know, we've seen 23 come in very solid. We've seen Bitcoin kind of edging into the 24 range. And as you guys have watched here on the show over the past couple of weeks, if you follow Gareth and our other TA analysts, when we look at some of these long plays on Bitcoin, some of the key things is whether or not we start to see this really kind of take a push into the 25 range. Some people have been talking about 28. And I want to get into the chart. This first story, though, here by Cointelegraph, Bitcoin's holding a 5-week high as a trader is suggesting that maybe this parabolic bear trend is over, because we have had a nice little run here from, if you look back, came back all the way from 17, really on that low, because we had a lot of traders that were in our mastermind group that picked up under 20 some solid bags and now are looking for exit positions.
100%.
With that being the case, how does the chart lay out right now for what you're seeing, Evan?
So there is a strong case to make that we've hit a top here, at least a local top right here. So if you look at the chart right here, I want to show you guys a few things here. So what I think this rally is kind of similar to this rally over here. If we map this out, this was back in after the Super Bowl, I believe, and that was about 47%. And we got kind of close to that already. We got up to 38%. That would be the highest we could probably go, is 48% here. However, there's a few things that are looking a bit more bearish. I just want to show you guys. And this cycle has looked more like 2014. So look at this green over here in our 10-day. And the last time you had this green dot here, a lot of people would say this is the bottom. However, not in the red in the money flow yet. I don't like this money flow at all. Here, you had to wait till you got into the red, too. Also, in 2015, you had to wait till you got into the red. I think this green dot is more like this green dot. And look at this green over here, these green candles. It's more like this. Now, there's definitely a case to make that we could come up to 28. It's going to be slower towards the end of the month. I think there's definitely going to be at least a little bit of a correction here. And then after this, look at this. I mean, I don't think we're going to come down that much, but 66%, that could be a good number for Ethereum. It could be half of that for Bitcoin. And my guess is probably for wherever we top out here, whether it's 24K or 28K or even 30K, who knows, 40 to 50% down, around 12K could be our bloodbath in August and September. Keep in mind, September is a very bad month for crypto and stocks in general. I think the Fed could also trick us and do 100 basis points instead of 75. And if you look at ETH2 here, I just want to show you on ETH real quick. On our 10-day on ETH, last time we had the green dot here, it was a major sell signal to the bottom. We bottomed out that was September, 3 months later. So this would be an argument to bottom out in a few months. We're also still pretty high in the green here. I could see us almost coming into the red in August or September to bottom out here. So be very careful, I would say. It could be a very big bull trap.
Yeah. I'm looking at, when we look at macro and the trends that are kind of forcing the hands, I think right now of a lot of traders, whether you're looking at maybe doing some short trades on Bitcoin or going in on swing trades, things of that nature, or you're looking at some of the altcoins, because we've had some pretty amazing altcoin runs here over the past week, 10 days as well, whether it's Avalanche, Ethereum right now. In many cases, there's been a lot of people who have been buying in at these dips and have been able to grab a pretty good profit in these times. So I think key here is going to be taking profits. If you look at what the Grayscale report is showing, crypto winter could last another 8 months is what they're essentially kind of pointing to. A couple of things that they kind of lay out in this article is saying that essentially the average crypto market cycle is around 1,200 days so far. So if the previous market cycles are similar, even though I feel like we are a little bit different still, even just because of all the implications of regulation, adoption, the amount of crypto and projects that we have out there in the space right now, it could start to kind of float around to where it's maybe a little bit more accelerated. But it's Bitcoin's run to all-time high back in November was a recovery that lasted longer than those previously cycles, which kind of gets to the point that they're theorizing that the bullish side of this may run be quite a bit different than what we've seen in the past, and
Yeah.
as versus some of these scenarios that we've seen over these past cycles, kind of just map out exactly where we were before. A couple of other things that have jumped in is many people are saying, okay, if the Fed comes in and does a little bit more softer approach here, which I just don't see that being the case. After printing a 9.1, I just feel like we are really going to see a full 1 point. But Bitcoin did top 24K on Wednesday, today, and then traders, of course, hopefully have taken a little bit of profits in there. And ETH was above 1,600. Do you think that ETH can hold this rate for much longer?
Probably not. I mean, if you look at ETH too, and ETH is really what looks like the major bloodbath. I mean, I'm not convinced, and this is the thing too, I could say I was wrong. I'll admit I was wrong if we get this green dot on the 16-day and confirm it for ETH. So that would take probably a few more weeks to happen. Once this happens, this was 100%. When you got that, that green dot, that was the bottom last cycle for ETH.
Right.
Both Bitcoin and ETH. So if we look at ETH right now in some of the shorter time frames, let me show you here. I mean, every time you got this high in the three-hour money flow, look at this, even this high, these are big corrections downward. So even if we're able to continue forward, I think there's a high likelihood you could continue. Look at this, 20% here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a high likelihood you come down. If it's 20%, that brings you all the way down to 1,200. Say it's just 12%, that's 1,400. That's a little bit of a nice short right there. And you can also look, I mean, very high money flow starting to curve down here. Momentum waves coming down while price is still coming up. That's a major bearish div. And you could see even on a 4-hour, I believe, still a major bearish div. And Bitcoin as well, the same thing in the 3-hour right here. See, last two times this was about, I think, 13%. It came down there. It's been following that pattern. And we're hitting a major point. Look, a spiral line and a major fib level. So, here's a little bit of a short I'm looking at to take profits here for a possible short and a stop loss up here, betting that we don't get too far above this level, at least in the short term. Now, after that, price, obviously, it would be healthy to come down here and then shoot right up to, your 26, 28K that people are talking about towards the end of July. And then that would still fit the narrative of about a 50% correction, capitulation towards the bottom, whether it's 14K, whether it's 16K, whether it's 12K in August and September.
Yeah, I think that also plays into some trader mentality too. If that does happen, if we do see, say, the 24 is the high right here on the local top, and we do see a correction coming back in, there's going to be some other entry points right there for both Bitcoin and ETH to maybe do another late summer run and be able to, take some more profits, take a look at where this might go overall. If you look at this story right here, Arthur Hayes, this is the BitMEX founder. We've talked about Arthur before. He's essentially looking at this, that with the pressure from the Fed, with what we've seen both with interest rate printing, with the global and macroeconomics that are really kind of at work here, he's pointing to the fact that we could see the Fed overcorrect just a little bit and then come back in and potentially do some stimulus down the road. Now, this may not necessarily be the stimulus as we know it today, even though there's a lot of states that are adding some stimulus due to what's happening right now with inflation. But if the Fed were to jump in and get into money printing again, this changes the dynamic pretty quickly. Just the instigation of this, if the Fed kind of alludes to this in the markets gets whiff of this, and I think we would see some pretty good corrections. What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's going to happen just yet. It definitely can happen, but I think the SPY there has to be more pain, because the SPY is still only down, I believe, what is it, 19, 18%? You're getting out of bear market territory, which looks kind of good on the SPY. If you're down, 20, 30, 25, 30%, then I could see that happening. And if Bitcoin's at, 12K in September, 100%, that money printing could happen then. But in the next few months, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah. I think some of the things that play into this for me is and you guys have heard me say this many times here on the show, is that we are really probably before we really see this recession kind of either soften or adjust. Now, coming out of it, that's a different story. But I think we're going to be looking at Q4. A lot of those last quarter earnings will make a big imprint. But the big number to me is still jobs and the credit crunch. If we continue to see credit crunch pushing in terms of consumer spending, which has not necessarily slowed that much, and that obviously is going to have to come from somewhere. If we see that start to occur, then I think the Fed has to come in and maybe do a little bit of an alternative correction. That could still happen in Q4, possibly even Q1 for next year. If you look at what Michael Saylor is saying, he jumped in and said, hey, listen, here in Q2, we're talking about mining efficiency has surged on 46% year over year. Sustainable power mix came up to almost 60%, above 50% for the 5th quarter in a row, and the network was 130% more secure year over year. Again, he is really selling in the whole concept of what the future of Bitcoin is here, and that's really what we're talking about. These are all short-term, challenges. We're talking about situations that we all know. The key is not to get wrecked during these little ups and downs. So knowing when to get that ebb and flow is really critical for where this goes. I want to jump over to ETH because they have been talking merge. All right.
Right.
So you got Vitalik here, kind of hitting on it. This, of course, is the Ethereum devs, and I still have this a little bit of cynical approach toward this. Is that are we seeing a little bit of a run here with ETH because of the Polygon and Layer 2 connection now that just announced, or is Vitalik maybe timing this into the next bull run where we could see something start to kind of shift a little bit? He's talking about the merge is scheduled for September 19th. Ethereum's price continues to rise, over from the low of 896, which was literally just a month ago. Imagine if you were there right now. You're in high cotton.
Oh yeah.
And the overall market size right now is above $1 trillion. So merge happens September. We go through a bloody August. Bitcoin and everything kind of adjust. Maybe we see a 20 to 50% adjustment.
Sure.
How do you think September starts to play out here?
Well, if it looks like 2014, which I think it will, September could be like January of 2015, where the beginning of it is pretty red, and then once this news comes out, that's kind of, Vitalik is a smart guy. I think he could time the bottom, and then you're kind of home free from there. But as you were saying too, with the grayscale thing, about 8 more months of a winter. Now we could still be, what I want to show you in the charts is, we could still be in a winter where we already bottomed out, and I think it's going to be a little bit like, let me go back here, kind of like, I think what we had, this rally here in 2019 won't happen. I think it's going to be more like over here. So you bottomed out, but you were more sideways for the next, kind of 8 months, 10 months, a year here. You gradually came up, but you didn't have anything too crazy like this little rally here where you kind of got close to all-time highs. I mean, this was really something in 2019. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be more gradual. So that's still technically a winter, even though you bottomed out, since you're still going to be under, let's say you're still under 30K or under 40K for a while.
And timing really plays into this, because if you look at macroeconomics and kind of the pressure that we're seeing from the Fed, there is going to need to be a correction. We know that. We're seeing it already happen. We'll probably see another full, maybe 2 basis points being printed over the rest of the year. So you've got what I think is going to happen with a full point next week on the FOMC. Then in September, we could come back and see a 0.75 come in. So you still have a lot of acceleration, which I think is going to slow down housing. It's going to slow down spending finally, even though I think the damage will be done on credit. Polygon, though, when you talk about Ethereum, Polygon, of course, launched their roll-up essentially, and now has the capacity to essentially engage with Ethereum in a way that they've been working on for quite some time. This really kind of opens up the gateway for layer 2s, especially with Ethereum, because it's been not necessarily, I'll say, clunky, but there's been some challenges there. Now with the new ZK rollup for Ethereum, I think it's going to be game on for this. Also, July 19th recorded the largest 1-hour purchase in 7 months on ETH futures. During a 1 hour, it was 1.7 billion in Ethereum has been bought on the futures market. What are your thoughts about futures market with this?
It's interesting. I mean, you always see things like that. I think a lot of it could be kind of a sell the news type of thing at this point. I'm not totally convinced, based on the technicals, that we bottomed out just yet. Can we come up a little bit more, another 10, 20% before a correction? Sure.
Yeah.
But it's not going to just be straight up, tomorrow. It's going to be more choppy towards the end of the month.
Yeah, and I think the question is whether or not all the news that has been out, if you think about what has happened, just look at the Polygon token price right now. And you guys have seen our videos. We dropped 2 videos over the last 10 days on Polygon. The movement was heavy, a lot of sentiment movement. Polygon basically came in, corrected. Now it did come down from what was about 95, 96, and it's down now around 84 trading today. You look at crypto staking service provider Lido Finance, who has now announced plans to expand staked Ether support to the layer 2 ecosystem. That will be Polygon, obviously. And even with that, you've got Polygon making a big announcement. You've got Lido coming in, making a big, all this affects ETH. And then you've got ETH even giving a little bit more fuel to the fire, saying, wait a minute, we've got a merge date now. So are we out of gas on, kind of buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing? Have we run out of gas on this particular situation for ETH?
I mean, if you look at Matic too, it rejected very cleanly off of $1, right?
Yep.
Off of $1 right here, 99 cents. And you're in the green on the daily here. And in a bear market, look at the last time we were in the green on the daily, and your RSIs are very split apart here. You crashed right down. And the next thing I want to show you guys, not to scare you too much, but this is actually really interesting for catching tops. Look at these split RSIs right here. So these split RSIs right here, it brought us down, healthy correction. But these ones, oh boy, right here, this is why I think 40 to 50% correction in the next month or so, 45% downward. If we come down 45%, this would be a nice case for 12K. 45% from 24, 13K. So
yeah. Well, that's going to hit the number that we've been kind of pointing at for the last month or so, is that the bottom could be in the 12 to 14K range, kind of moving in on that. I want to jump on a couple of other items here with Ethereum, because I think with Ethereum's scenario of coming together in September after a correction, I just look at what is the catalyst that could really be that next big, because there's going to be an instant when something starts to click, whether it's the Fed has now slowed interest rates by September, October, because now we're dealing with obviously a November midterm. You've got Ethereum's merge happening. Maybe by then we start to see a lot of the trillions of dollars that are sitting on the sidelines right now in a lot of these, asset class managers that are simply looking for that last hurrah in 2022 before a year-end
scenario. The other thing to keep in mind too is when things bottom out, it's going to be tough for Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin, especially if we have another 50% correction from here and Bitcoin's between 12, 16K, and Ethereum goes down to let's say 500.
Yeah.
There's a lot more Bitcoin maximalists who are going to be made, and they're going to be buying Bitcoin as what we see when the bottoms. Bitcoin bottoms out with Ethereum, but it typically outperforms it for another 6 months. Got to keep that in mind too.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's going to be a factor. I think still that, and here's the thing too, you guys, when you're looking at whether it's sentiment or you're looking at on-chain data, if you look at this story right here, Ethereum and both Polygon are showing metrics on-chain metrics that are showing very good growth overall. And I think still both Polygon may end up winning the race here because of their synergies with Ethereum and the timing, because it's so close to a potential merge, which really could change the whole ecosystem of how Ethereum is rolling out. But I think you're right. The key here is going to be timing these markets. It's going to be tough to time these tops. So don't worry about, you may miss it by 1,000, 10, 20% even. The key here in any kind of investing is, remember, you got to get in and take your profits. So if you're not taking profits right now, you should be, especially if you were coming in on these lows where you were able to buy these bottoms. So we do have a video coming up later this week on our final series, which is our Buy the Bottom. This is the one that I think is where we may be able to jump into this next dip. These are the tokens that we're going to be talking about, so make sure and check that video out. I want to get to this last piece right here, because this to me indicates the component of bringing down back to a $12,000 Bitcoin. And this is where a prediction now looking at Ethereum falling $675. Long-term ETH predictions were lowered considerably. Do you think with the merge in place, do you think ETH, and let's just assume we did catch the top, okay, of this local top right here, and we start to see this adjustment down, it follows Bitcoin down to an adjustment, and then we see a correction come out. Do you think ETH can come out as strong as it has in past bull runs to kind of pair with what's happening with Bitcoin, or do you think Bitcoin is going to dominate?
I think Bitcoin will dominate for the first 6 months to the first year, like it always has at the bottom historically, and then after that, Ethereum will knock it out of the
Exactly
park.
what happened last time, too.
Exactly, and that's what we've seen historically. So the thing is, too, you got to realize these are very volatile times since market caps are very small. This isn't like when we were at 4 or 5 grand for Ethereum. There was less volatility. You know, you could come down to these numbers pretty easily, 500-600. And all other altcoins, they could crash another 70, maybe even 80% with some of them in the next few months. These are very low market cap times. These are very volatile times.
Yeah, this is where it gets very dangerous. And this is a bear market, guys. This is how bear markets work. You're going to see these ups, these downs, and you've got to learn how to trade them if you are trading them. If you're sitting through these, and maybe you were in Bitcoin or Ethereum back at a $200 Ethereum or something of that nature, you're sitting back kind of watching these waters murky up a little bit. But overall, I think a lot of new investors are trying to figure out what to do with this right now, for sure. We're going to take some questions. I do want to jump and take a quick look at Ethereum's, because this has been something that has been a little crazy. We saw a big spike in overall sentiment on Ethereum this week as it started to reach into the $1,600 range, but it has flattened off dramatically, so we're not seeing any additional sentiment ranging or positive sentiment. This always tells me this is a calm before a storm, usually a storm in a downward position. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. Bitcoin, let's see here. We'll get on to Bitcoin and see if I can pull that one because I know we just updated these numbers. Bitcoin, same kind of scenario, went last on the 15th. We had that nice little bump and Bitcoin was moving. It had been kind of sideways and started to trend up. And then, of course, as of today, it did go flat, actually slightly down, even though top line sentiment is up just slightly right now still on Bitcoin. So there may be a little bit of life left there on sentiment overall. Let's get to some questions, Evan, because I'm sure many people are going to have some. When do you take profits, and do you leave cash on the exchange or transfer back to a bank? How do you do it?
So right now, with everything happening, I would definitely be as conservative as possible. Just take it out.
Get it out of it.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Or hardware wallet, you know.
Yeah, unless you want to go to a stable coin and then flip it over to a hardware wallet for sure. All right, so Paul, how do you take profits in your ledger? Do you go back and forth? Yes. Yeah, so the best way, well, I mean, Ledger is good, but it's still a little clunky on its swap mechanism. So you have to kind of get through that. Some of you may not have been experiencing that. What I do is I just use wallet to wallet. You guys know you can create multiple wallets within a ledger itself as well. So, but that's the way I do it. I go in, I'll pick a handful of exchanges, flop that in there. Make sure it's an exchange you can withdraw the entire amount too. Don't get caught on a withdrawal limit fee. So be careful there. So if you're in KYC or something like that. I know we have a poll coming in. Let's take a look at the poll right here. All right, what will happen first? 28. Ooh, this is split, Evan.
Ooh.
This is split. Look at that. 28K 47 and 20K 53. Because I start buying in at 19. That's when I start buying in on the way down.
Okay.
So, wow.
It's 50-50. Maybe the slim majority. I would kind of agree with the slim majority here. I think, well, if we do come up to 28K, it's going to be choppy on the way up. It's going to be choppy on the way up, is what I will say.
How do you think the Fed's 2-month hiatus will affect the markets? Bullish? What do you think? I think we go a little sideways.
More sideways.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Yeah.
I mean, out of sight, out of mind, definitely not the case with macro. But the other factor, obviously that goes in because we won't see another inflation or print till September.
Right.
So that's true. Let's take a look here. What catastrophic event is going to happen to push Bitcoin down to 12K? If Terra, 3AC, Celsius, and all that madness happened and we got it pushed into 17, the industry, the industry, we did that. We
don't need any too crazy of an event to push it to 12K. It's just historically, based on these technicals, based on how things look. I mean, especially with the Fed possibly raising rates by 100 basis points, maybe worse numbers with the S&P 500 with those companies.
What would be the all-time high to 12,000?
to 12,000.
Yeah, what would be that correction, market correction percentage?
That would be 82%,
82.
which
So-
is 4 points less, four percentage points less than last time, and 4 percentage points or 8 percentage points less than the cycle before.
Yeah. So that's where I think that's the last resistance point. If it ever
Yeah.
broke that, ooh, things
Yeah.
would be very dicey. Let's take a look here. Also, what is the argument for Bitcoin moving down 12K? We kind of gave you that. The market's dragging it down, liquidations. Mostly this is historical scenarios here, but also I think there's a lot of pressures to, again, macroeconomics, which we have not faced this before, which is one of the things that does concern me a little bit in any investments out there. When you have macroeconomics that and macro impact globally that are having so much impact on global finance in general, but especially societies, it's pretty big. Let's see here, 8 Blazon, what does the green dot actually mean? Explain this in detail.
Okay, so a green dot basically signals a bottom. So I could show you, how about I show you just on the 16-day? And this is the most important green dot I'm waiting. So we have one of the technical analysis tools in Market Cipher is this yellow line. It's called the VWAP. And every time it crosses the zero line, up or down, every time it crosses up, it means a green dot. However, if you look here, it confirms in 7 days. So actually, let me show you the 2-week one, which one is already printing here. So we have one printing here. This 2-week green dot confirms in 11 days right here. Once it confirms, then you look historically what happened before. Once this one confirmed, was the bottom, you came up. Once this one confirmed, it was the bottom, you came up. But some of these, it's stronger when it's down this much, but I'm a little hesitant on it because the reason how it works is the anchor wave is going to be deeper the quicker price comes down. So if we did come down fast, but I think it's a little bit of an illusion here. I think it's really should be more like this green dot over here before this giant correction right there in 2014. So they signal bottoms. That's what they signal.
Yeah, and it's all trending off of the volume weighted average, right?
Yep.
So which is the VWAP that Evan's talking about. Any thoughts or concerns using ProShares short Bitcoin ETF? What are you thinking on ProShares shorting BTF or BTC?
You'd have to, do some research on it. That's I think people have done that. It's if you're easier, if you don't want to use the leverage exchanges, you can. There's pros and cons. You got to read up about it, but I'm not against it. I'm not necessarily for it. I'm neutral.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, guys, we do the market movers. These are not investment advice. The goal here is to get you guys some research, some data, and provide you a lot of insights that hopefully, based on your own portfolio, your own guidance of what you're doing from your own investment strategy, because you may be in right now on a long play. And when I say long play, meaning, hey, you don't really care about what's happening today because you're looking 3-4 years from today. It's a completely different strategy on those. So just remember that as you guys get growing. Do you guys do any pair trading? I do pair trading quite a bit.
Pair trading meaning?
Well, when you're trading with a pair like a Bitcoin and USDC or something of that nature.
Oh, okay.
ETHmatic.
Oh, okay. Like that. Yes, yeah, I do when it's convenient. Yeah, it's all, whatever. Try to find the best way to limit your fees, I would say, no matter what. So. Yeah.
Any thoughts on Polkadot?
Polkadot, I'm actually still long on it with profits locked in. It did look really good on the technicals, a few good things. There is a strong case to make that we could possibly hit, this is the area I'm looking at right here at 920 about. However, the thing to be cautious about, RSI is splitting apart on the daily here. Last time we came into the green, you got a little bit more out of that, so it could be like that. Maybe you could get that high. However, what I don't like here is your 16-hour VWAP, or excuse me, RSI curving down. These split RSIs curving down, kind of like here. See, you just came right back down. Could be the top here. We're in a bear market. When you come into the green here, sometimes it's more bearish. So I'm leaning more towards the bearish case. That's why I locked in some profits on this. But there is a strong argument to make for $9.
Yeah. Should you long Bitcoin right now? That's now you're in a 50-50. If you believe in the 28, great. But I think a lot of people right now are looking at maybe the short angle, especially with it slowing on its sentiment. Something could happen. Could we get some kind of crazy news? Sure. Could we get some sort of liquidation event? Possibly. But that would be the only scenario where you'd be in a position right now. Longing would be a little bit more risky.
So what I could show you here for a long, and I think we're kind of due for something different to happen, but it could be kind of similar to if you keep an eye open on these split RSIs right here on your 15-minute. Last time we were like that was all the way back here, yeah, right like this. So it does look a little bit like this. It's the same thing with money flow coming out, and we did get a nice pump up after that. However, one of these times it's not going to work. I mean, say you got, another 8%
Right.
here. This would probably bring us, let's see where 8% is. That would probably give us an interesting area. 8% upward. That's 25. So, and we're talking about 28, but we still have to, got to deal with 26 here. This is a big area.
Yep.
There's another spider line we got at 27. There's other obstacles in between. So
Yeah,
be careful.
for sure. Matic pumped so hard in the last couple of days. I think it's just need time for a cool off. I will show you the sentiment chart on Matic because it immediately corrected today on overall sentiment. Remember that we had been seeing this right here at the eclipse yesterday, or actually Monday on our last print, prior to it hitting the 93, 94 cent range. It had pretty much topped out. So at that point, we were anticipating we would see a little bit of a fall off. It did correct. And what's interesting is it's coming in right back in at its kind of the pre-pump phase, which right here was on the 13th of July. So will we see it fall off further? I think we'll see a little bit more downtrend on Matic right now, based on sentiment. Again, I think all the news is out. We'll probably see, some real potential guiding in Matic. But again, Matic to me is still a long-term play. If you guys are holding Matic at higher rates, be patient because I think that one's going to play out for everyone. That's my strategy, at least what I'm doing with Matic right now. Gala, what are your thoughts on? Do you do much in the metaverse? Gala, I know is
I have
one.
not looked at. But we can take a quick look at it right now. I mean, another thing I want to say too is be very cautious with like little wicks upward, because what happens a lot of times is you'll get maybe another wick upward, you'll come up a little bit more, then you come right back down.
Right.
Just a little bit more FOMO. The main thing here I'm looking at on the technicals on all these, the 16-hour, these VWAPs curving downward, especially these RSIs curving downward. Last time, look at this, curve downward, bam.
Yeah.
Time before here, right about there. See, you could have something like this. You come up a little bit more, then oh my, look at you got a little bit out of this, but nope.
Yeah.
Or even right here. So we got to be very careful.
What about that money flow right there? Because you don't have crossover yet.
You do. You're in the green right here.
Okay.
However, look at the last time we were in the green. Bam,
Yeah.
right down in the bear market.
Yeah.
Last time, it could be like this though. See, you were in the green, but see, just like that one, you came up another. Let's map that out. Let's see what that would have gave us. Another 12%, which, it sounds like a lot, but if you come up 12% and then you crash, you come up to 65 cents. But then if you just come right back down to 4 cents, who cares?
0.65.
Yeah,
Yeah.
0.6.
All right, so that would be, so I think in the essence of Gala, I think we're still early. Big news, though, I know is coming on Gala. We've got a big release coming up actually tomorrow, so make sure and tune in for our live stream with Sarah Buxton from Gala Games, and they've got a big drop on some pretty interesting stuff, so make sure and stay tuned on that. If you guys are not jumped into our Diamond Circle, this is the time to do it. It's free. We do a couple of emails a week. We drop that out. If you guys want to reach Evan, you can catch his link below also to get into his trading course. So he does a full market cipher thing. It's pretty cool. I've seen his trades videos, and
Yep.
How's that going for you? Is it
Good. We've had a really good week. I'm not right 100% of the time. Nobody is, but you only need to be right 51% of the time with
To
risk
win.
management over time. It's not get rich overnight. It's a slow, gradual.
Yeah, it's called
pace,
investing,
but
guys. It's
Yeah.
investing for a reason.
Yeah.
All right, if you guys, of course, want to reach me, it's out on Twitter. We'll catch you next time right here on TechBath.